Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well on this good Sunday morning. We just wanted to connect with all of you, discuss the budget, discuss some of the small cases that are associated with the budget. The idea of this entire AMA was to sort of tell you guys what are the developments around the budget in conjunction with small cases, how we are looking at what outlays and what announcements have been made during the budget, and how we feel that is going to affect the small cases. So without much ado, let's get started. Starting with rising rural demand. So agriculture continues to be a significant feature in the finance minister's budget speech. This is a trend that we have seen historically also. This time the agriculture credit target has been increased to 20 lakh crore, and a lot of the focus is on animal husbandry, dairy and fisheries. There have been other schemes which this current government introduced, like coverage of irrigation and water efficiency, improving supply chain from farm gate to retail outlet. These schemes have also seen significant jump in allocation. We also saw a new scheme coming in, PM Vikas, targeted at hand artisans, and there's been an allocation of 550 crores this time. This is the first time this scheme has been launched. There was also an announcement around a dedicated accelerator fund to encourage entrepreneurship in rural areas. So overall, just to summarize, I think this government's promise was that they are going to double farm income by 2020. While I'm not too sure whether that has happened, there's been continuous focus on rural areas, and we feel that is going to positively impact rising rural demand. You can actually see that the allocation is continues to be pretty high in 2021-22. The actual spending significantly jumped up because of COVID. The government wanted to support rural areas, and it was at 213 and odd crore. During this year also, it has increased. That is the revised estimate, which is the provisional estimate, or the provisional spending during 22-23 period also is significantly high. And the allocation continues to be high for 23-24 with around 2 lakh crore spending. So moving on, next we have infra tracker. Once again, as you can see the trend in capital expenditure, you can see that spending associated with capital expenditure, both directly from the central government as well as via grant in aid for creation of capital assets, that is the grants given to states for them to create capital assets, has been significantly increasing since 2015. So this time around, the capital investment outlay has increased steeply. This is the third year in a row that it has increased. This time it is up by 33% on a year-on-year basis to 10 lakh crore. This is 3.3% of GDP. That, and I must bring it to your attention, that is 3 times the outlay that was done in 2019-20 period. Government has another feature is government has extended the 50-year interest-free loan scheme to states for 1 more year, so that they can also go ahead and create capital assets. Provisions have also been made for creation of capital assets through grant in aid. These are the grants given to states for specific projects so that they can go ahead and create these capital assets. So overall, if you sort of count all of this 10 lakh crore plus the other, free loan, interest-free loan scheme, as well as the provisions that the government is giving, the effective capital expenditure for 23-24 period is going to be about 13.7 lakh crore, which is close to 4.5% of GDP. So that's a very high number that the government intends to spend over the next 1 year towards creation of capital assets. So if we are tracking infra tracker, this any spending here on creating capital assets, capital investments is directly going to reflect in infra tracker small case. And one sort of pathway, or if you take infra tracker, one has to definitely talk about transporting India, because most of the capital assets that we saw the previous time, most of it will go into creating roads and railway sector. That is where the capital formation is going to be during the next 1 year. So capital outlay for railways has increased to 2.4 lakh crore. This is the highest ever outlay, and this is about 9 times the outlay that was made in 2013-14 when this government came into power, and it is 50% more than last year's outlay. So that is a interesting point. Allocation to NHAI, National Highways Authority of India, and other roadwork projects has also increased from 2.16 lakh crore last year to 2.69 lakh crore. So that's once again a significant jump. Apart from these two allocations, the government announced that it has identified 100 critical transport infrastructure projects for last mile connectivity for ports, coal, steel, fertilizers, and food grain sectors. The government is going to spend close to 75,000 crore towards these critical infrastructure projects. Once again, you can see that in 2021-22, the actual spending via government schemes was 240,000 crore, and that is budgeted to increase to 476 crore. So close to 2 times what was done 2 years ago. Moving on from infra tracker, transporting India, and all the capital formation in that particular sector, let's go on to the digital space. So digital space, we are keen on, or we keenly track this because of the digital inclusion small case. So the compensation provided to service providers for creation and augmentation of telecom infrastructure has been steeply revised from 3,000 to 10,400 crore. So we are going to see a lot of spending on the telecom infrastructure side. Fiscal support for digital payments infrastructure will also continue. So these numbers, and probably anecdotally also, everybody knows how sort of digital payments have been have risen over the years and stuff like that. So digital payments record an increase of 76% in transactions and 91% in value in 2022. That is just during 1 year. So the government is going to continue to support the entire infrastructure that's going to drive these digital payments. On top of that, 5G services are the new thing. So just recently, a couple of telecom companies launched these services in select cities. So the government is setting up about 100 labs to develop these 5G services. And the idea is, there are new range of they want to check new range of opportunities, business models, and employment potential in places such as smart classrooms, precision farming, intelligent transport system, and healthcare applications. Once again, you can see that last year the government, in spite of the promise of 9,276 crores, the government spent only 5,200 crores. But this time the revised estimate promises to spend, close to 13,000 crore rupees towards creating digital infrastructure for India. Next, we have auto tracker and electric mobility. So electric mobility small case is something that we launched back in 2017, and one can start seeing if one is tracking news and one is looking at the cars on the road, you can see that there are a lot more green vehicles now compared to 3-4 years ago. And the government declared that green growth as one of the goals for the budget. And the budget carried forward last year's focus on energy transition and climate action also. So in association with electric vehicles or the electric mobility small case, what has happened is customs duty exemption has been extended to import capital goods and machinery required for manufacture of lithium ion cells. These lithium ion cells are used in batteries in electric vehicles. And allocation to FAME India scheme has also been increased. So FAME India scheme is an incentive scheme that was created by the government, or that was launched by the government to encourage adoption of electric and hybrid vehicles. As we can see, back in 2019-20, the promise was that close to 10,000 crore would be spent over the next 3-4 years towards electric mobility. But because of COVID, that promise really did not take off. You can see that in 21-22, only 800 crore rupees was spent. Last year, whatever they promised, in close to 3,000 crore rupees, they have spent all of that. And this time there is like a significant jump in allocation to 5,172 crore. So we can be pretty sure that, given the government's focus on green growth, climate change, and all of these things, and this incentive to sort of reduce oil imports because of the high price and all associated politics, we can go ahead with the assumption that there is going to be this entire amount of 5,172 crore is most likely going to be spent. In association with electric mobility, we should also talk about our auto tracker or the auto sector. 604 crore has been allocated towards production-linked incentive schemes targeting the auto sector. This is the first time such a scheme has been launched as far as the auto sector is concerned. And the government has also promised to, spend adequate amount of funds towards scrapping of old vehicles. This is expected to generate demand for new vehicles and benefit the auto industry. So this is pretty much as far as budget and small cases are concerned. The idea, as I told you earlier, was to just see, or just to bring to your focus how we are looking at budgets, what are our takeaway from the budgets, and what we feel is going to be the impact of scheme outlays and government announcements and government's focus on our small cases. We just want to take you through that. Now, I'll quickly move on to the Adani Group's performance. This is something that you might have all heard over the last 10 days, 1 week. So Heidenberg Research, a trading firm, put out a report wherein serious allegations were made around money laundering and price manipulation and all of these things. And as a result of that, the Adani Group's stock performance has been significantly dropping down over the last 1 month. You can see that the drop as far as Adani Group stocks is anywhere between 25 to 60%. Some of these stocks have dropped by close to 60% since the news has come out. So we just wanted to quickly walk you through, what are the checks and balances we have on our end to ensure that, we don't have to, face these kinds of issues. So one important thing that we do is we don't clearly go only by, technicals or price performance and the likes of it, right? We have a pretty solid, checks and balances system in place. We look into things like liquidity. We look into things like fundamental indicator. Fundamental indicator is a proprietary indicator that we developed, which creates a composite score involving fundamental aspects like valuation, profitability, market share, financial strength, and growth. We have also incorporated stock exchanges, ASM and GSM list. So SEBI and stock exchanges, put out their ASM, GSM list. ASM list is prepared on the basis of concern around price movement, volume variation, and the likes. Whereas GSM list is put out on the basis of securities that are being subjected to enhanced monitoring and surveillance by the exchanges. So we incorporate that also as part of our checks and balances. Another thing that we look at is the default probability of the company. Most important of all, we check to see what is the corporate governance like of the company. And then we also look into promoter pledge. So higher the promoter pledge, the more riskier the stock is, because if the stock starts falling down and the person who has promoted the stock, or who is the entrepreneur who has pledged the stock, is not able to meet the margin call, brokers might end up selling the stocks in the market, and this will create further pressure and lead to more stock price drop. So we have seen this kind of behavior back in Yes Bank. We've seen it in for Z Entertainment Enterprises, Granules India, and the likes. So these are compositely some of the checks and balances that we put. So we don't only go in by valuations. We don't only go in by price performance. We don't only go in by, the story and the euphoria associated with what is happening with the company. We take a hard look at the fundamentals of the company. We check to see what the growth numbers are like. There are other in addition to the fundamentals and the associated items of the company, there are a whole bunch of negative list items also that we check to see, to make sure that this kind of negative performance does not affect the performance of the small case. So having said that, there is only one company out of this group that is part of the small case, which is Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone. Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone is part of Transporting India and Infra Trucker small case, and this is the only stable company which sort of passed all the checks and balances, which is why we've included that. Right now, we have not taken any call on it. We will wait for further developments and check to see what we need to do with the company. But as far as other aspects are concerned, there is the story. So that is pretty much in terms of explanation from my side. Now we can start taking questions. I think one question that we got was from Ellen Jean. Ellen said, instead of yearly rebalance, would it be wise to follow 3 months rebalance or need basis rebalance for dividend star small case, as it mostly has small caps? Now, what happens with dividend star small cases? The criteria that we use to shortlist dividend star small cases, average dividend yield of 2% over the last 5 years, and no dividend cut over the last 5 years. So since we are looking at annual numbers, rebalancing once every 3 months does not add any value to anybody's case, does not bring about any improved performance or anything of that sort. And this is something that we've told repeatedly, that increased rebalance does not automatically result in increased or better price performance if there is no underlying development from the company's side. So that is something that needs to be remembered. The next question is from Onkar Singh. What is the best way to avoid charges while rebalancing? Can we alter to not sell any stock, say 10 out of 100 to buy other stock? So I think, see, what happens when you don't sell during any rebalance? One, if you only buy the new set of stocks that has been recommended and not sell, the weights of your small case will get impacted. The weights will start diverging from the curated portfolio's weights. That is one thing. And second thing, if you're only buying and not selling anything, what is going to happen is you're going to additionally keep pumping in money to keep buying, and there is no way you're going to realize the returns that that you have earned. So that is something that you have to keep in mind if you're not comfortable selling anything at all. I understand that if you are in a high churn portfolio, that might result in a lot of buying and selling, and some people might not be comfortable with that. In that case, I would suggest, Onkar, that you move away from these high churn portfolios. Please explore some of the low churn portfolios, or I wouldn't say low churn, that is not the right word to use. Low rebalance portfolios like dividend stars and the likes, which get rebalanced only once in 3 months or once in a year. So please don't treat this as a recommendation for dividend stars, but I'm just asking you to explore these small cases which are going to get rebalanced over a longer period of time instead of shorter period of time. Another question from Zafar Khan is, which small case will give good returns based on budget? Zafar, we have no idea which small case will give you a good return. We don't have a crystal ball into which we can gaze and give you that recommendation. We have shared with you in terms of government's focus, where the outlay has increased and stuff like that. So based on that, I suggest you do a little more research, and then you can revisit these small cases and check to see if you're comfortable buying into any one of those. I can't really give you a recommendation, nor can we crystal gaze and say that this small case is going to give you good returns or not give you good returns. Gaurav, what is the impact of this budget on the real estate sector of India and related small case? There has not been, as far as I can remember, there has not been any specific announcements associated with the real estate sector. So the budget itself will not be either a positive or a negative for real estate sector, I feel. Tangentially, what might probably happen is, because of all the tax reductions that has been given in terms of increasing the basic deduction rate and stuff like that, there might be some positive impact. Somebody who is able to save without paying taxes might decide to go ahead and buy that house that he's always been dreaming of. So that's the way I see it. What's happening with the Shubham Thakur? What's happening with the insurance sector after this budget? Once again, not really too many announcements associated with the insurance sector. There have been some allocations for health sector schemes and insurance and the likes. So that's pretty much what it is. Now the next question is, Rashesh, what is the main short-term impact on? Not too sure. What is the main short-term impact in relation to what, Rashesh? Maybe if you can clarify that, we can discuss that. Pony J is saying, can the impact of the budget announcement be quickly visible on the returns of the small cases, or generally how much time it takes for the impact to be visible in returns? Really difficult to answer that question. See, if I were to take the example of electric mobility small case, for instance, right? Now we know that there has been a lot of government focus both on to create demand as well as to sort of like, in terms of ensuring that there is smooth supply. And what a budget outlay or an announcement during budget tells us is that the government intends to continue this focus. But we will never be able to sort of figure out, like, is the impact going to be quick? Is the impact not going to be quick? If the markets in generally are doing well, probably the impacts can be seen very quickly. If the markets themselves have been sort of flattish, you might not be able to see that. So to sort of look at it from a very short-term perspective, I don't think is good. Small cases are always for long-term investments. So please do your research around that. We've already put out the numbers for you, and you can then take a call. I think there's one other person who is saying, I want to begin investment. Where should I start from? Which small case should I start if minimum investment ranges to 4,000 to 5,000? So we cannot give you a recommendation. Windmill Capital is a research analyst. We cannot give you a recommendation. What I suggest you do is go on to Windmill's website. You can check to see what all small cases. The minimum investment amount is clearly laid out there. I suggest sort of like, you can take a look at that, and you can probably decide on that, or take an investment advisor's assistance to understand what your risk profile is, how much risk you are able to take. And you've already mentioned that, minimum investment range is 4,000 to 5,000. So based on that, I suggest you shortlist a small case that you want to invest in. Purujit, do you think the market is bottoming out? I don't really know, Purujit. I have no, like I told you, I can't crystal gaze and sort of like, guess that. We've all seen the news. We've all seen IMF's announcement also. India was probably one of the only few places where, GDP forecasts were not slashed. But having said that, inflation sort of continues to stay high. So you can draw inferences on behavior of the market on the basis of these two, news items. Apart from that, the other big announcement was related to budget. I have told you what is the government's focus on the budget and where the scheme outlays has been increased. So please sort of put all of these together, and then you can try to understand whether the market is going to bottom out or going to go up from here or whatever it is. Next, Prakhar Pandey. Adani is involved in crucial infrastructure creation for India. If it goes down, it might affect India's economic growth. I don't want to really speculate on whether Adani is going to go down or not. There have been certain things that are out in the open. The leverage aspect was definitely one thing about it. But then there is also a question whether if it is too big to fail. So we will wait and watch on that. I don't really have any other insights apart from what you guys know about the company. So we'll just wait and watch on that. So Rashesh has come back. He's saying, I mean, any major decision on any sector for short term? For short term, there is no decision. The short term impact is what I told you with regards to budget outlays and stuff like that. So you can take a call based on that. Ketan, what's the idea behind still having Amara Raja batteries in electric mobility small case? So Amara Raja Batteries is doing a lot. They have gone out and made acquisitions so that they can bolster their EV battery capabilities. They are in advanced talks, or they have already started setting up a huge factory in Telangana to cater to electric vehicle batteries. I think just in the last year they made around 1,000 crore sales specifically to the EV sector. So given all of these news and given that they are particularly doing well, I think that's a direct, pure play as far as electric mobility small case is concerned. Okay. Creative concepts. I don't understand how things get cheaper or expensive after budget. Can this thing impact small cases, like if electronic gets actually cheap? Well, one way things could get cheaper or expensive is based on what kind of custom duties or taxes have been imposed. For instance, like I told you, as far as electric mobility small case is concerned, the government has announced that they are going to continue with no customs duty or reduced customs duty for lithium-ion cells. So somebody importing, if he or she does not have to pay any tax, then the price of the item remains low. But if you're going to keep increasing taxes on the item, like for instance on cigarettes, you can see that the prices only get expensive over a period of time. So that's how it usually works. Can this thing impact small cases, like if electronic gets actually cheap? As far as electronic is concerned, I don't think there is a direct impact. And one cannot always directly draw an inference saying like, tax has been increased, so item will get expensive, so small case will get impacted. There are a lot of other factors in terms of growth prospects, in terms of how the company is able to manage its margins in spite of increase in taxation. All of these things come into focus also. So it's next to impossible to say if one aspect changes, will the entire house of cards come falling down. Likit, can we see movement in IRCTC stocks or railway stocks, seeing a lot of budget being allocated to the sector? Like I told you, I don't want to speculate on what is going to happen with IRCTC or railway stocks. Like I told you, overall the government is focused on creating a lot of railway infrastructure. I've shared the numbers with you. The allocation has certainly increased, so you can definitely take a call based on that. Government is pushing and supporting small companies. Ankit is saying government is pushing and supporting small companies. According to you, should we invest more in small caps? Investing in small caps definitely is based on your risk profile. If you are the sort of person who can take risk and who can definitely stay invested in the company for a long period of time, only then you should be investing in mid and small cap companies. Because what happens with small cap companies is, as compared to large cap companies, their business model is not quite well defined. The prices of these stocks tend to be quite volatile. So if there is any correction in the market, the prices of these stocks are the one to fall first, and they fall quite steeply. And they might also sort of stay at the bottom or stay flattish for a long period of time. If you've been watching market trends recently, you can see that mid and small cap stocks have not performed at all over the last 1.5 years. So if you have the ability to sort of stick through all of these pain points, only then you should go ahead and invest in small caps. Yatin, based on last year's budget, which small case from Windmill has given returns? Yatin, we cannot really, so if we look at some of the best performing small cases, there are multiple factors, whether they are best performing or worst performing, there are multiple factors that affect them. One cannot really just sort of say, because some announcement was made in the budget and the small case has performed well, we cannot draw a direct inference on the basis of that. Budget outlay or whatever has been the focus of the budget is one thing, but the company's performance will be affected by multiple factors like supply chain issues globally, oil price increase, the entrepreneur's ability to drive growth for the company, the state which it is located in, sometimes probably because of the political climate. All of these things affect it, so it is impossible to draw a straight inference on the basis of that. Next, we have Ram Krishna. Last year, interest rates are lower than this year, but still market is flat. What is your view on current scenario in this year? Like I told you, interest rates, we don't know what's going to happen because inflation is expected to stay where it is. And there are some speculations that there might not be any interest hikes. But at the same time, there is expectation that the world is going to go through a recession. So what happens abroad is directly affecting us also, because a lot of the inflation that we are facing now is sort of imported inflation because of high oil prices. So just on the basis of interest rate, one cannot predict what is going to happen in this year. And I don't want to offer a scenario. We have to look at it in totality. And the only things that we know are oil prices continue to be higher, inflation continues to be higher, and we have continued to import inflation. Because of that, interest rate probably is going to stick around at the levels that it is already is. But in spite of all of these things, our growth rates are still going to be in the 6.6 to 6.8% range. That is all that we know. And based on that, we have to take a call on what's going to happen. Next, Bala, there is a change in income tax slab again. In future, will we see the complete removal of old tax regime? If so, will it have any bad influence on tax returns on housing loans? I don't really know, Bala, what the finance minister will do as far as completely removing the old tax regime or not. So I cannot really comment on whether it is going to affect housing loans. Niranjan, if I want to make a lump sum investment in a particular time, small case, does the timing matter? How to know this timing? Well, Niranjan, one can never time the markets. That is next to impossible, and there is no good time to sort of go ahead and invest. any time that you decide to invest is good time. That is what I mean to say. Having said that, if you want to make lump sum investment, I suggest you split it into a couple of different tranches, just so that you are not investing only at a high or only at a low. What you can do as far as these, I think, Yatin, just to go back to your question, you said based on last year's budget, which small case from Windmill has given good returns. Do me a favor, you can just drop in a line to support@windmill.capital.com, and we will see if we can pull out those numbers, if we can infer something based on our previous data that we have on our end, and we'll see if we can directly pull out those numbers for you. Vinayak, why metal small case is underperforming? The global commodity cycle has been affected because of high oil prices, supply chain issues, and stuff like that. China has not really been performing well. Macroeconomic performances are poor, which is why metal small case is also sort of underperforming. Sachin, as government focuses away from fossil fuels, any positive impact on sugar stocks and ethanol production? There has been some announcements around blending, Sachin. But it remains to be seen. So ethanol, blending is one aspect to it, but sugar as a commodity, because it is part of the retail inflation basket, we are always very, we have our own doubts about whether there is going to be complete price discovery that the government is going to allow, or are they going to impose some sort of caps on sugar prices and stuff like that. So it might work both ways, just to share my thoughts. Sandeep, why don't high volatile small case with highest small cap exposure get rebalanced on major event dates, basically additional rebalance dates other than fixed ones? Sandeep, we have discussed this over and over again. More number of rebalances will not necessarily, there is absolutely no proof to indicate that more rebalancing will increase the returns of the small case or do anything positive to the small case. The rebalancing has to take into account company level developments as well as macro developments. So just to sort of on a major event day, I'm assuming a major event day would be a budget. Just because of budget, if I'm going to rebalance without there being any underlying development in the company, it will not have any positive impact on your small case. So that is why we don't do that. Suraj, is there any specific small case available to invest which consists of stocks benefiting from this budget? I think I've answered this. Shubham, looking at low penetration of credit card business in India, do you think it is going to grow exponentially? I don't see that kind of growth in those companies. I don't have any thoughts on the growth of credit card business. Overall, I think just at a very broad level, if I have to answer this question, GDP per capita growth increases, I think people will think about using credit cards or some kind of short-term credit. That is what I feel like. I don't have any specific insights into how this business is going to grow. The tax on overseas stocks has increased to 20%. So does this mean that overseas stock transactions will see a downfall? Well, see, what has happened with this 20% thing is the government has said if you decide to invest 5 lakh rupees in overseas markets, then you will have to pay advance tax of 20% on that, which means I get to keep 10%, 1 lakh rupees, and you get to only invest 4 lakh rupees. And then at the end of the year, after when you are filing your income tax return statement, I'm going to check to see whether if there is refund that has to be processed, then we are going to process it. So that is what this 20% is going to do. So based on that, whether there'll be a downfall or not, we can't really predict. But that is definitely that is definitely a hassle as far as investors are concerned, and that is what I would like to say around that. A big deterrent to investors. Yeah. Now, Dheeraj is saying thoughts around cement sector. Once again, cement sector is directly associated to real estate and infra and all of the likes. So two things that are going to probably work for cement sector as one, all the infra spending, road and rail outlay. So that is going to have a positive impact. Second impact, like I told you, because of change in, tax benefits for the middle class people. If more middle class people decide to, invest all of the amount that they have saved into real estate, then that is definitely going to affect cement sector positively. So that is how it is going to work. Ritesh is asking, are ETF small cases a safe bet given the global possible recession? Well, ETF small cases a safe bet. Well, depends on which ETF small case and what it actually does. ETFs just tend to follow certain indices. So if the indices does not perform, the small case does not perform. Just at a very at a very broad level, I can't really take a call on which ETF small case you are talking about and stuff like that, because some small case might have a lot of debt ETFs, liquid ETFs, gold also to pad up the performance of what happens to equity small cases. There might be some other ETF small case which is going to give you exposure only to small cap or mid cap stock. So based on that, we really have to take a call. Okay, Sandeep, as per the data you have actually invested, where do you see more returns of small case, lump sum or SIP? I don't really have data around which one generates more returns, but I prefer to use SIPs because then you are not investing either at a peak or the trough, but you're able to average out the cost of your investment. So just anecdotally, I would feel that that is a better way of investing. I think the last one is around, can you explain the canceling methodology? So as the name suggests, we have, I can't recall the exact criteria for this. Just give me 1 minute. Let me see if I can get the exact criteria for the small case, and let me sort of explain that. So essentially in canceling small case, what we do is we take the idea is to shortlist on the basis of growth factors and momentum factors. We consider aspects like current earnings, what is the annual earnings, and then stocks are selected on the basis of growth of EPS, and we also take into consideration momentum criteria like price performance, how close it is to 52-week high percentage, and then what is the amount of momentum it is seeing with respect to the main indices, which is the Nifty indices and all of these factors, and other aspects like efficiency, which can be seen via high return on equity. We take all of these things into consideration, and we have created the canceling small case. I hope that explains. If you have any other questions around Darshana, if you have any other questions around canceling methodology, just write to support@windmill.capital.com, and we will be more than happy to explain to you how the small case works and take it forward from there. So I think we've spent close to 40-45 minutes. This is probably, we can stop over here. We will regularly keep conducting these kinds of AMAs, and you can sort of drop in a line either on our social media handles, or you can share your thoughts via support@windmill.capital.com. We'll be more than happy to get back to you with more answers. So that's pretty much from my end. Thanks all for tuning in. Have a great Sunday. Thanks.